You guys are not ready for this movie.
No.
Haley, what did you think?
My soul is dead.
I'm still shaking, and I think I'm gonna cry when I get in the car again. It's amazing, it's epic, it's wish fulfillment, it's everything we've wanted from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and more. I can't say anything else because I'm gonna spoil it.
Let's just say I don't cry during movies, and I cry.
My hand is shaking, guys. Oh my gosh. It's partly because it's cold out, but mostly because of this freaking movie. Go see Avengers Endgame as soon as you can, and then go see it again, because you're not going to believe what you're watching. It's that good. What's going on, you guys? Big375 here, aka Vince Leno. Today I'm doing another movie review. This time it's for Avengers Endgame. Pointing at the poster. Before we get started, though, I do want to clarify something. I am going to be doing less trailer reaction videos going forward, mainly because I have wanted to make more time to do YouTube video reviews for movies instead of reactions, because not that I don't love trailers, of course, I love trailers, they're the best part of being a film fan, but you know, I've loved judging movies as a whole as well, and since I've been getting into a lot of older films as well that I've been wanting to watch for years, I want to do more like retrospective reviews, and then also reviews for movies that I see recently, and I really want to do one for Endgame because it's the culmination of everything. It means a lot to me, the MCU and the characters and the journey we've been on since 2008, so I really wanted to do, it came from wanting to do a review for Endgame and not just having time to do it because I was doing other videos. But just letting you know that less trailer reactions are coming. Still trailer reactions, just less of them are coming, but more video movie reviews are coming. Now let's get into Endgame. Holy crap, this movie is absolutely amazing. It's so good. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is my new favorite MCU movie. It, to me, tops every movie that has come before it. Not just because it's so good, but because if you think about it, literally every single movie in the MCU is essential to this one film. You can't take any single film out of the MCU without it corrupting Endgame. You literally, I mean, even some of the bad, the not so good ones, you know, like all the Iron Man films, I sort of play into the character arc that Tony Stark goes through and is eventually paid off at the end of this movie. Same with Captain America. All the Captain America films are paid off at the end of this movie. Even like Thor: The Dark World, which is kind of the least liked of the Thor movies, plays a significant part in this movie. Ant-Man is kind of a hero that people aren't, you know, super crazy about, doesn't make a ton of money at the box office, his movies. But without Ant-Man, you don't have... Without Ant-Man, you literally do not have the central plot, a storyline of the film. Guardians, obviously the Guardians are super important to this film, especially Rocket and Nebula. Even some of the ones that might not have been as beloved. Every single MCU movie leading up to Endgame is pivotal to this movie working. It literally is the culmination of everything that has come since Iron Man in 2008 and concluding, but also continuing with new life in this final installment. But I love this movie. It so beautifully wraps up everyone's story, while again hinting at future stories to come. It balances pure and utter wish fulfillment while also balancing a well-developed, emotional, and rich story full of character development, character arcs, and really emotional stuff. Honestly, the first time I saw it, it was an employee screening because I work at AMC Theaters, and it really didn't hit me how emotionally impactful this movie is. It wasn't until I saw it with an actual audience. I saw it with my best friend Haley Murphy, who she and I have been Marvel fans since the first Avengers. Well, we've been Marvel fans our whole lives, really, but she and I really didn't like bond with the Marvel Universe until the first Avengers movie, and then that's how our friendship kind of became stronger through the MCU, and it meant so much to me to have her sitting next to me, watching the movie, reacting to characters that and events that we've been wanting to see in the MCU for years. And it wasn't until that moment where I was at the end of the movie and being with an audience, being with my best friend, I wept. Like, I just started weeping uncontrollably in the theater. It was a really emotional moment for me. Let's get into some spoiler stuff. So if you have not seen Endgame, which, I mean, based on the box office, if you haven't seen Endgame, you're a small margin of people who haven't. If you haven't seen Endgame, though, please turn back. This is a spoiler review going forward, and I am going to spoil a lot. The main thing that I wanted to get into is just characters that didn't make it. I mean, not a lot of characters die in this movie, but in terms of the main team, a lot of major characters do. First and foremost is Black Widow. Now, a lot of people have been very sort of, oh, Black Widow didn't get her due. Like, why is she, like, serving the men and dying for the men or whatever? It's like, no. I don't think that's what the arc was about. I don't think that's what the Russo brothers' intention was. The way I see it, Black Widow, since the first Avengers, because let's be honest, she didn't have a lot of character development in Iron Man 2, her entire arc has been about redeeming herself. She's always been saying, I got red in my ledger, I like to wipe it out. She's always felt like a monster because of the despicable, horrible things she's done in her past, and she's trying to redeem herself of that. And when she joined S.H.I.E.L.D., that was an attempt to do that. When she joined the Avengers, that was an attempt to do that. Both of which essentially broke down to, and then she was sort of left with nothing but Captain America, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and she kind of, the last thing she had was this small family. And the Avengers, what was left of the Avengers at that point, became her family. She would do anything to fight for that family, including sacrificing herself. So when it came to her and Hawkeye trying to fight for the Soul Stone, first, let's be honest, you didn't want Hawkeye to die and not see his family. That arc had to be fulfilled. It had to be. It just had to be. Like, there was no other way around that. But the fact that Black Widow had come full circle to the point where she would lay down her life for a set of people, I think was really emotional. And I got emotional during that scene because I didn't expect her to die at all in this movie, to be honest. But I also didn't expect her to make the biggest sacrifice of the movie because, we'll get into other characters who didn't make it, but she really did make the biggest sacrifice, I think. And I loved the way she went out. Like, she went out willing to fight for this family, even if it meant sacrificing herself, whatever it takes. She was the one who truly lived out the movie's kind of tagline of whatever it takes. She was the one that kind of saw that through more than any other character in this movie, I think. And that's why I don't think her death should just be brushed under the rug or dismissed as being a disservice to the character. I think it was a great service to the character and a great completion for her arc. Has she kind of been sidelined in most of the movies? Yes, but again, we're getting a Black Widow movie that could be, it's assumed to be a prequel, but it could be a sequel. Maybe she survives, they get the Soul Stone back, and she comes back to life. Probably not, but we'll see. The next character I want to talk about that doesn't make it out alive, who's kind of the godfather of the MCU, is Iron Man, Tony Stark. Again, we've been on this journey with the Avengers since 2008, and seeing Iron Man throughout the years really progress as a character over the course of, I think, 10 films he's been in, Robert Downey Jr. It's an incredible arc, and it's deserves an Oscar, to be honest. And I'm dead serious. Give RDJ an Oscar for his work as Iron Man. The cool thing about his specific arc in this movie, he's at an interesting point at the beginning of this movie because we see him weakened by Thanos, not only physically. We don't see it until he comes back to Earth thanks to Captain Marvel, who doesn't really play a big part in this movie. It's not until he comes back that we see his spirit is weakened, and he kind of does exactly what Thanos wants everybody else to do. He gives up and becomes grateful for the things he has around him. Pepper, home, He has a daughter now, Morgan Stark. So he builds a life of being grateful for the things he has, which, I mean, is not a terrible thing to do, but in doing that, he lets Thanos win because Thanos wanted the universe to be at peace and be grateful for what he did. And of course, the universe was not at peace and was not grateful for what he did, but Iron Man, out of fear of Thanos, did exactly what Thanos wanted him to do. The godfather of the MCU was weakened and succumbed to the villain's eventual overall plan. And it was interesting to see that. And then once we see him realize that there is a small chance that things could work, but it might mean the sacrificing of what he has become grateful for, which doesn't because time travel, whatever. Only to, at the end, regain his strength, his confidence in the Avengers and who he is, and willing to finally make that ultimate sacrifice. Because he can never stop. Nothing could ever stop Iron Man from being Iron Man, except for death itself, at this point in his life. And that's what leads him to making that ultimate sacrifice at the end, where he gets the stones, snaps his fingers, and kills Thanos. Ends this curse that has been bestowed on him since the Avengers. He finally snaps it out of existence, and he can finally rest. And that's the moment that really got me, was seeing, because I did not expect him to die, honestly. I didn't think he was going to die. I don't know why I didn't think that, but I did not think he was going to die at all. And it didn't hit me until it happened. It's a lot like how I reacted to when Logan died in Logan. How the Wolverine died in Logan, sorry. I knew Logan was gonna die, but the impact was just so powerful. It was the same way with Iron Man. Like, the impact of him dying was so powerful, I didn't see it coming. And it's a beautiful send-off for the character, a beautiful conclusion to his arc. Hashtag I love you 3000. Ugh. It's a great way to end this 10-year journey with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man finally concluding his arc in a brilliant way. I mean, the Russo brothers are freaking geniuses in the way that they conclude his arc. Because he's the one that started it all, he should be the one to end it all, at least this phase. It was so satisfying to see this character finally get what he's been wanting, which is an end to the curse of Thanos bestowed on him, and this final rest that he has been longing for. And now this leads to my favorite MCU character, and probably the most difficult for me to accept. It's Captain America. Captain America has been my favorite superhero since the first Captain America movie. I mean, it's always been Spider-Man for me, but it's not until I really got into the lore of Captain America that I really related to the character and who he is at his core. And so seeing him sent off was really emotional and hard for me to accept. Because his arc has always been about being a man out of time. Like, the first film really doesn't have any growth for him because it's about him maintaining who he is, and he always does throughout the film. But he doesn't really develop an arc until the first Avengers, when he is kind of this man out of time, and he's trying to get used to being a man out of time, but he can't because he was used to following orders, and the world was black and white back in the day. Now there's a little bit of gray, and he's just not used to that. And he's been trying to find peace. He's been trying to find a home. He thought he found a home with S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. was Hydra. He thought he found a home in the Avengers. The Avengers broke up, so all he had left was Black Widow and Falcon. And then the Avengers came back together, and he sort of found that home again. But within all that, he's always been longing to be with Peggy. I mean, that's who he loves. That's who he never got the chance to be with. And once you introduce time travel, obviously you have the option for him to go back. And it's about, I mean, you see it in the final battle where he faces off with Thanos. You see that he fights so hard for the sake of the world and for his friends, the Avengers, and just the entire universe as a whole. He's the one that leads the charge and stands up against Thanos when no one else will. Except he dies in the comics by the hands of Thanos. He doesn't die by the hands of Thanos in this movie, which is cool. Technically, he doesn't die at all, which is cool. But seeing him charge in and, you know, have Mjolnir. Oh, Mjolnir! That was so cool. Great scene, great payoff from Age of Ultron. Gosh, that scene was just maybe one of the best scenes in the entire movie, him fighting Thanos with Mjolnir. Anyways, but his arc is concluded with him going back in time to live out the rest of his life with Peggy. And I'm under the opinion that he went back to the same timeline that the current MCU is in, the 616 or the 166, whatever it is, MCU timeline, and he lived out his life in that timeline, knowing his younger self was going to come to be frozen in ice and come out and be you know, an Avengers, stuff like that. He let all that transpire, then secretly became the father to Peggy's kids, which is alluded to in Winter Soldier. Oop, I almost dropped my phone. He's always been this guy who's willing to put himself down for others, and in this final fight, the fight of his life, he's earned the right to be not selfish, but do something for him. And in a timeline where he's been this selfless hero for all his life, he does something for himself for once, and it's so well deserved. And he also, rightly so, passes the baton on to Falcon, so that the legacy of Captain America will continue. And that's exciting too. I cannot wait to see Captain America be Falcon, you know? That's going to be really cool to see. I was honestly hoping for Bucky, but I think Falcon is a more suitable partner, or not partner, but suitable replacement, because he never really, I don't know, Falcon's never really been a big character that people have been fans of, and he's never really gotten much focus. I think as Captain America, he will get a little more attention, and he's also very much like Steve Rogers in the same ways. He's selfless, he's loyal, and willing to fight, and willing to help others. And hopefully this will be a chance to explore Falcon way more than we have before in the MCU. I just want to go through those big character moments, because those three characters were the ones that sacrificed themselves and are not coming back, is what it sounds like. And I wanted to go through their arcs because that's just the core of this movie. Obviously, Thor is still around. He's going to be kicking it up with the Guardians, possibly in Guardians 3. I wasn't a fan initially of Fat Thor, but I learned to like it. I think it's a very realistic, very Shakespearean approach to the character, and I look forward to seeing more of Thor in the next phase of the MCU. Professor Hulk was probably one of my top 5 favorite things about this movie. I think Ragnarok was the closest we ever got to closest we ever got to Hulk being the Hulk we always wanted to see, you know, kind of baby talking, and, you know, very typical Hulk. You know, Hulk has always kind of been this sort of quiet monster that's just kind of smashed up, and it's like, oh, let's have him talk, let's have him have a bit of an arc. You see that Bruce has this sort of confidence in him now, like he's more at peace with himself, more of a leader this time around, which is really cool to see. I look forward to seeing more of Hulk in the MCU. The time travel stuff is still kind of confusing. I don't think they explain the rules very well, but basically the way I see it is when you go to the past, you create a new timeline, and something about Infinity Stones affecting the timeline as well, or corrupting the timeline. But in going back in time, the Avengers created the multiverse, which is why we have what happened in Spider-Man Far From Home, the trailer. So that'll be interesting to explore going forward. I think Thanos was, you know, kind of fell into that stereotypical villain fodder again. Not again, but, you know, he didn't do much in this movie. He was the obstacle they had to overcome. But I think this Thanos made sense because he was a younger Thanos, not too young, but a Thanos who was more war-hungry, more warmongering than the one who was in Infinity War, who was more at peace with his quest and not causing more havoc, not causing more mayhem, but wanting to complete his quest for the sake of the universe. It was a religious, very spiritual journey for him. And that's why he kind of described himself as a prophet in a way, which, I mean, I think that's a really cool arc for him in Infinity War. He's a more younger, naive, more stubborn Thanos, I think, where he wants what he wants and he will destroy the very existence of this universe and create a new one just to get his way. Whereas I think older Thanos would not have done that. He would have been like, you know what? I'm gonna get the stones, I'm gonna do my thing. It's all good. This one's like, I'm gonna kill you all because you all are a thorn in my side. I think that made sense. It was just, as the last time we'd probably see Thanos ever in the MCU, maybe not. I wish he had a little more of a meteor arc. Or if we didn't have the younger Thanos, just if we had the Thanos that we saw in Infinity War and not have his head chopped off. But it made sense for the story, so I understand why they did that. The one moment that is absolutely incredible, and I cannot believe is in this movie and it actually exists. For years, I've been saying if the MCU does not do a battle with every single character in the MCU, all the Avengers, all the Guardians, Asgardians, like just a giant, massive battle like the one in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book, this whole thing will have been a failure in my opinion. And I gave up hope that was going to happen in Infinity War. Wasn't until Endgame that I didn't even expect it, because I thought, okay, we're not going to get it. But we got it. And it is what makes this movie so great. And that's what I'm talking about with like balancing character arcs and wish fulfillment. It is the greatest thing ever, because we get so many, and that's what Kevin Feige has been talking about. Like that is the visual representation of the culmination of everything. You see M'Baku and Captain America standing together. You see Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Rescue, Ant-Man, Wasp, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, all the entire MCU coming together to fight Thanos. It's what made this movie go from here to here. It was probably the greatest moment in the MCU, probably one of the greatest moments in cinema history, and the complete payoff of a 22 film arc that just, I cannot emphasize enough how much I wanted that moment. Now that I got it, I'm so happy we did. To conclude, Avengers Endgame is the perfect culmination of these past 11 years in the MCU. Again, every movie is important, every movie is essential, and I can't help but think back to 2008 when I went to go see Iron Man for the first time with one of my friends. We were the only ones in the theater because I think it was like weeks after people had seen it, so it was already kind of, the hype had gone down, but I hadn't seen it. I didn't know what to expect. And I loved the movie and was like, I can't wait for Iron Man 2. But I didn't see the post-credit scene until like years after. I was like, wait, we're getting the Avengers? Who are the Avengers? And I just vividly remember that moment of watching that movie in the theater, and then years later watching the post-credit scene thinking, what is this? What's happening? What's going to become of this? And knowing now that 10, 11 years later, what has come from that one movie, it's just incredible to think about. The MCU means so much to me, these characters. This is our generation's Star Wars. This is my Harry Potter. This is the lore that I've followed almost religiously for years. And to see it pay off in this way and also continue on is such a pleasure. And I salute the Russo brothers for creating a satisfying conclusion. You guys deserve a long rest. Props to Kevin Feige for seeing this vision through and coming up with the idea of what if we got every hero in the Marvel Universe to be in the same room together. Yeah, what a great movie. One of my all-time favorites, only after 2 screenings. And again, as much as I am mourning the end of this journey, I'm looking forward to the beginning of a new chapter in the MCU and seeing what lies ahead for the Avengers, for the Guardians, for whatever else we have going on. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. This movie is amazing. And if you haven't seen it, well, again, you're a small minority of people, and you should probably go see it by now. Let's get it to 3 billion so it can beat everything else, including Avatar, because that's all that's left. Well, that concludes my review of Avengers Endgame. What did you guys think of the movie? Head down into the comments section, comment below your thoughts, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about what you liked, what you didn't like. If you want me to talk about other things, let me know. I will be doing a new podcast episode on my podcast, the Vince Salerno Podcast. We're talking about the future of the MCU, a world post Endgame and including Spider-Man Far From Home, what the events of that film will mean for the MCU going forward, what they're teasing. I'll be joined by Shelby Turner, one of my best friends, on that episode, so can't wait for you guys to see that. If you guys like this review, want to see more, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. You can check out more reviews I have of other movies that have long been released, and trailer reactions and short films, all sorts of things you guys can check out on my channel. Also, again, I have a podcast, the Vince Lerner Podcast. You guys can check that out on Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, on the other one, Spotify. Thanks for watching again, guys. Have a great day. God bless, and peace out.